Hello guys and welcome to this lecture series. In today's lecture we are going to see concepts from similar matrices, diagonalization of matrices and minimal polynomials. These are basically one of the most important topics which you can see in linear algebra when you consider your exams like IIT JAM or CSAR NET and all. So this minimal polynomials is a very important section. It is in fact linked with diagonalization of matrices, and diagonalization of matrices is actually basically linked with similar matrices concept. So all these three things are linked. So this lecture will basically we'll be focusing on these ideas. So I would recommend you to please see this lecture completely, because I don't want you to miss a very important section which you have for your exams. So please try to see the videos completely so that you can get a nice information. And those who are seeing this video for the first time, that is videos from this lecture series for the first time, please go down. You can see a Telegram link in the comment section. Please join it and subscribe the channel of the Telegram channel, so that you get the notes and you get the corresponding materials and all those things, okay, for your preparation. So what do you mean by similar matrices? So I'll just give you the definition first. If you take two matrices A and B from Mn of f, that is n by n matrices with entries from the field F, we can say that A is similar to B, or like A is similar to B or B is similar to A if there exists a non-singular matrix. So keep it in mind, it should be a non-singular matrix P such that P from Mn of f such that P inverse AP should be equal to B, or we can say P inverse BP is equal to A. So this is a very important concept when you consider linear algebra. So suddenly if I ask you one question, like if I give you a question like something like this, I give a matrix and I ask you whether this matrix A, and if I give another matrix, I'll give another matrix 5 minus 3, and if I ask you whether they are similar, what will be the answer? You cannot definitely tell so fast, right? So you'll think like, what is a P matrix which we have to choose so that we get something like P inverse AP equal to B, or those things. But I can tell you that these two are similar matrices. Directly I can tell these two are similar matrices. You know why? Because this matrix we have seen few days before in our lectures. We found the eigenvalues for this particular matrix. We were finding that eigenvalues to be this 5 and minus 3, if you remember. So there is some connection with the similar matrices and eigenvalues, all those things. So let us see what is that connection first. So if you look at this matrix 1 4 4 1, if I'm going to think in something like this, I'm going to choose P to be some particular matrix. Let me choose this matrix. It's actually a non-singular matrix, right? A 2 by 2 non-singular matrix. Determinant is non-zero. And if I'm going to find P inverse AP, this is my A, then what I get is 1 1 1 minus 1 inverse into 1 4 4 1 matrix into 1 1 1 minus 1 P inverse AP. So if you just find out the inverse of this matrix, you multiply with this A matrix, again multiply with P matrix, you can see that you will get the answer as something like this. That means I have given you an example that I have shown you a P for which P inverse this A and P will give you actually the B matrix. That means we can say these two are basically similar matrices. Okay, that means to show similarity, just we have to show an existence of P. But how could I write this very fast? And if you want to check whether two matrices are actually similar, we just have to show one P for which P inverse AP will be equal to B, so that you can say that both the matrices are similar. But if you look at this particular case, we got something like a diagonal matrix here, right? When we found P inverse AP, we got a diagonal matrix here, and the diagonal matrix contains of only the diagonal entries are nothing but what the eigenvalues of we found it to be the eigenvalues of A. So there is something we have done here. We have actually diagonalized this particular matrix. This is what we mean by diagonalization. That is, if you can find a matrix P for which P inverse AP becomes a diagonal matrix with the entries in the diagonal entries are basically nothing but the eigenvalues of A, we say that this matrix is basically diagonalizable. Okay, and you can see we have already done the diagonalization of this particular matrix, and we already got actually a matrix with containing all its eigenvalues. Why I am directly telling eigenvalues all those things is because we have discussed this in our previous lectures, this particular example. Okay, so and now you can also be familiar with, I think you're also familiar with this P matrix, because you can see when we discussed our problem, we got that day two eigenvalues for our matrix A, and corresponding to this eigenvalue we got one eigenvector, and corresponding to this eigenvalue we got another eigenvector. So this P matrix is formed using these two itself. You just combine the two eigenvectors together, you will get a 2 by 2 matrix, right? So this is actually nothing but our P matrix what we can choose. So if you take any matrix, uh, is it possible to diagonalize? Like if you take any matrix, whether it is possible to diagonalize? That's a good question, right? That's a good question, because what I would say is that not every matrices are diagonalizable. Because if you cannot find such a P for which you can do P inverse AP to be a diagonal matrix, then we can say the matrix is not diagonalizable, right? Okay, so there are some properties which you need to know before going further into diagonalization and all those things. I want you to give some of the properties in this section, then we'll go to the next section. If you take a matrix Mn of f from Mn of f, A from Mn of f, then A and P inverse AP, where P is any non-singular matrix from Mn of f, are they similar? They are similar, right? Why? Because if you take P inverse AP into P inverse, what you get? You get equal to A. Because you can see P inverse will be I, and here also we get P inverse equal to I. So indirectly we have shown that they are similar. So I have not I didn't take like P inverse. I should have taken like P inverse AP is equal to some matrix, right? B matrix. So if you have a doubt why I have not chosen like that, I have chosen like P some matrix, P inverse equal, and I'm shown equal to some other matrix. Why is that? Because if you want you can show this way also. What you can do is you want to show both the matrices are similar, right? You have A like this. Now you can multiply both sides, like you pre-multiply with P inverse P, P inverse AP, P inverse be equal to P inverse A. So this becomes automatically I, and you post multiply with P, so it becomes P inverse AP, P inverse P, that is post multiply with P on both sides. So what happens? It also becomes I. So you get P inverse AP is equal to, that is, this is actually a matrix we are thinking to start, and that matrix is equal to P inverse a matrix into P, right? So it's actually of the form, you think like this. This is your P inverse AP, A matrix, and this is your B matrix. This full is your B matrix. So we have shown that A and B are similar, or we have shown that A and P inverse AP are similar, right? Yes. So now, what are the different properties similar matrices hold? If you take two similar matrices, then one of the property which I would like to mention is that the eigenvalues will be same. That is, if you take two matrices A and B from Mn of f which are similar, then what are the properties which we must keep in mind? First and most important property is that the eigenvalues will be same. So what about the eigenvectors, whether they will be same? So let us check. Suppose you think like lambda is an eigenvalue of our matrix A. Okay, so what you have for a non-zero x in f power n, if lambda belongs to f, x is such that ax is equal to lambda x, we say that lambda is the eigenvalue of A and x is the corresponding eigenvector. So if I just multiply with a matrix P, so actually the thing is that we are going to check whether A and B, where B is actually P inverse AP, where they have same eigenvalues. So I've started with this step. I'm multiplying with P inverse on the left hand side, so it's lambda times P inverse x. Now I'll multiply here, I'll include here P inverse, okay, because P inverse is I, so there is no issue in including like that. You get lambda times P inverse x. So what you can see here is you already got something like B P inverse x is equal to lambda times P inverse x. That means if lambda is an eigenvalue of A and x is the corresponding eigenvector, then what you can say is lambda is an eigenvalue of B and the corresponding eigenvector is P inverse x. So it's not the same x. The eigenvector you can simply calculate by multiplying the whatever P you have got, that particular P you have to take the inverse and multiply with x. Okay, so that is one of the property of similar matrices. So eigenvalues are same but eigenvectors are not same. Okay, you can write like by is equal to lambda times y, where y is equal to this. Now another few properties are like third property is basically that if you take the trace of A will be equal to the trace of B, because eigenvalues are same, so sum of eigenvalues also should be same. Similarly eigenvalues are same, so determinant should be equal, right, because determinant is the product of eigenvalues. Same way you can also tell that rank of A will be equal to rank of B. So all these properties you must keep in mind. Again we have one more idea, that is the minimal polynomial of A will be equal to the minimal polynomial of B. So now this guy comes into existence. What do you mean by a minimal polynomial of a matrix, right? So we have to find it. Let us find out. So from this section of properties regarding similar matrices, you keep this also in mind, that this is also true. So let's now move on to this concept. What do you mean by minimal polynomial? Now if you take a matrix A from Mn of f, we have discussed about the characteristic polynomial of this particular matrix, right? And if you remember the Cayley-Hamilton theorem, what does it say? It says that every matrix satisfies its characteristic equation. So characteristic equation means just equate it to 0. This becomes your characteristic equation. This alone is your characteristic polynomial. That means, for example, if you have something like a 3 by 3 matrix and you got your characteristic equation to be something like this, okay, then what does Cayley-Hamilton theorem say? It says that a cube plus 5a also will be equal to 0. That means every matrix satisfies its characteristic equation. You just have to substitute in the characteristic equation the matrix, you will get the answer to be 0. That is what does this Cayley-Hamilton theorem says. That means this particular polynomial, we can call it as one of the annihilating polynomials of annihilating polynomial of the matrix A. That is, it is very simple. You have a polynomial and in which you substitute, when you substitute the matrix there, you get equal to the 0 matrix. Such a polynomial we call as an annihilating polynomial. Okay, for example, if you consider this matrix, if you square it, what do you get? You get as 0, right? If you square this matrix A, you get the 0 matrix. But when I write 0, what I meant is the 0 matrix. So that means that, and what is the characteristic polynomial here? The characteristic polynomial is what? Lambda square equal lambda square, and the characteristic equation is lambda square equal to 0. So you get the roots as lambda equal to 0 comma 0, right? So here you can see the matrix satisfies this characteristic equation. Yes, a square is equal to 0, perfectly fine. But what about a cube? A cube is also 0, right? Because a square is already 0, and you multiply a matrix with a 0 matrix, you get again equal to 0. So a square is an annihilating polynomial, a cube is another annihilating polynomial, or if I write a cube plus a square, or like x cube plus x square, or if you want in terms of lambda cube plus lambda square, this is also actually a annihilating polynomial because a cube is 0, a square is 0. So we substitute a in this, it becomes 0. That means this is what you mean by annihilating polynomials. So when you consider the big set of all the annihilating polynomials, when you consider the big set all the annihilating polynomials of a particular matrix, you definitely have your chi a of lambda inside. The characteristic polynomial is always inside. There is one more special guy known as the minimal polynomial of that particular matrix. The speciality of this matrix is, sorry, this particular polynomial is that it is the least degree monic polynomial, okay, which satisfies, which divides every other, it will divide every other polynomial in this set. That is the annihilating polynomials of A. That is the specialty about this particular monic polynomial. This particular monic polynomial. Monic polynomial means very simple. For example, if you take 5x square plus 3 is not a monic polynomial, but x square plus 3 is a monic polynomial. Just take the leading element, the degree. Here you can see it's a second degree polynomial. Take the coefficient of x square. If it is 1, then we say it's a monic polynomial. So such a person is known as the minimal polynomial, and he is very strong in the sense that it has many other properties. That is, the roots of this, like if you take a characteristic equation and that is chi a of lambda equal to 0, then you will get some roots here, right? Now if you are going to find the roots of the minimal polynomial, they are also going to be they are going to be same, but the multiplicities may be different. That is the only difference. For example, for a matrix A, suppose you got like x minus a 4 by 4 matrix, you got x lambda minus 3 whole square into lambda minus 2 whole square. So what should be the eigenvalues? The eigenvalues should be 3, 3, 2 and 2. So the minimal polynomial, property of minimal polynomial is that it will also be a polynomial, the least degree monic polynomial, which divides every other polynomial. Okay, so just keep in mind that particular definition. So the speciality of this minimal polynomial is that it will also have root as 3 and 2, but the multiplicity may be different. Sometimes you may get same chi a of x itself as a minimal polynomial. Sometimes you will get some other polynomials. For example, if you take this particular case, the characteristic polynomial, always x is coming for me, the characteristic polynomial is suppose this. Okay, so we are going to see what is going to be the minimal polynomial. So the cases of minimal polynomial are like either it could be the same itself can come, lambda minus 3 into whole square into lambda minus 2 whole square may come, or you may get something like this, or you may get something like this, or even you may get something like this. So these are the 4 cases, possible cases for minimal polynomial, because it will divide every other polynomial in this set, right? And this set contains the characteristic polynomial, so it should divide the characteristic polynomial, so it should have this particular different ways. But now people will think like, why I have not taken this special cases, that is lambda minus 3 alone and lambda minus 2 alone, because of this particular result. This result says that the characteristic polynomial and the minimal polynomial will have same roots. so the multiplicity may be different. So definitely you must have the minimal polynomial should have two roots, 3 and minus 2. So we cannot take this individual cases or individual polynomials. So these are the four cases which can be the minimal polynomial of this matrix what we are discussing. Okay. It is not that easy to find the minimal polynomial of matrices. For example, if we take a matrix something like this, what are the eigenvalues of this particular matrix? The eigenvalues are going to be 2, 2 and 1, right? The eigenvalues are going to be 2, 2 and 1, and the characteristic polynomial is basically what? Lambda minus 2 whole square into lambda minus 1. This is your chi a of lambda. So the possible eigenvalues, sorry, the possible minimal polynomial are basically either it could be the same itself or it could be this. So how do we check it whether which one is correct? You just substitute your matrix in this polynomial. So let us first check this case, because our idea is to get the least degree monic polynomial. So you must always start from the below case. So I just want to find a minus 2i. When I have lambda minus 2, the corresponding matrix equation is a minus 2i, and lambda minus 1 means a minus I. So what do we get now? If a minus 2i into a minus I, so here what we get is your A matrix is this, you subtract it from 2i, right? What do we get here? If you subtract like this, I get this matrix, and again we have a minus I. What is a minus I? 2 1 0 0 2 0 0 0 1 minus our I. What do we get there? If I subtract, here it is 1 0 0 0 0 0 0, 2 minus 1 is 1 and 2 minus 1 is 1. Now if I multiply this is actually our a minus 2i and a minus I. If you multiply a minus 2i with a minus I, what do we get? You have the matrix a minus 2i. You multiply it with, our aim is to check whether it is 0 matrix. If you multiply, you can see when you find out not this entry, when you find this entry, 0 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 0 into 0, it is 1. So definitely it is not going to be our completely 0 matrix or 0 matrix, right? That means that a minus 2i into a minus I is not equal to 0. That means that this is not the minimal polynomial. This should be the minimal polynomial. You can check, just find lambda minus I, a minus 2i, square it, then you multiply, you can see it becomes 0. So here we have seen how to find out the minimal polynomial of this kind of matrices. Now before going further, I think I should tell you how we can diagonalize a particular matrix. After telling all those things, then I'll give some more properties from this section, which will help us to do a lot of problems based on eigenvalues, and almost all other problems from the eigenvalue sections we will solve. Okay, so if you're given a matrix, I just told fast before, if you want to diagonalize this matrix, what you have to do is you have to first find the eigenvalues of that particular matrix. You find the eigenvalues of that matrix. We found it to be 5 and minus 3 in our previous lectures. You find the corresponding eigenvectors. Then you form a matrix, a square matrix, using these eigenvectors and use it as your P, which will help you to diagonalize it. That is, you just find P inverse, take this matrix as A, P inverse AP. You can see that you will get a diagonal matrix. But is it always possible? Just now we saw one matrix 2 0 2 1 0 0 2 0 0 0 1. What are the eigenvalues? Eigenvalues were 2 2 then 1, right? Because It's again an upper triangular matrix. The eigenvalue is nothing but the diagonal entries. So let us find out the eigenvectors, because if we have eigenvectors we can diagonalize this, right? So what are the eigenvectors? If you substitute for lambda equal to 2, what are the eigenvectors? That means we have to find all x for which a minus lambda I times x is equal to 0, or a is actually this one. So 2 1 0 0 2 0 0 0 1 minus 2 times I, right? 2 times I matrix times x is our unknown vector we want to find is 0. We have to solve this system, right? So what do we get here? We get something like this. If you subtract, you get matrix like this equal to 0 0 0, and from this what do you get? You get that x2 has to be 0 and minus of x3 has to be 0, or x3 has to be 0. That means that your eigenvector should be of the form 0 0, and here x1 can be anything. So let me choose a and 1, and a times this will be an eigenvector of this particular corresponding to this particular eigenvalue. You can see here we can find only one such vector, but if you take for 1 you may get one more vector, right? You may get one more x or y, but the problem is to diagonalize this particular matrix we need a 3 by 3 matrix P, right? Usually what we have to do is we take the eigenvectors corresponding to this linearly independent eigenvectors what we get corresponding to these eigenvalues, and we form a matrix. But here the problem is we are getting only one vector, linearly independent vector for this eigenvalues 2. So it is not possible to diagonalize this particular matrix. This is one of the sufficient condition which we can use to tell that whether a matrix is diagonalizable or not. So I repeat, usually what we do is you take a matrix, you find the eigenvalues, you find the eigenvectors corresponding to it. That means if you take an n by n matrix, you will get n eigenvalues, and you have to find the eigenvectors of that particular eigenvalues. And if you don't get n linearly independent eigenvectors altogether, then we cannot diagonalize the matrix. So what are the conditions which you should keep in mind for the diagonalizability of matrices? So a square matrix A belongs to Mn of F is diagonalizable over the field F if and only if the first condition is that A has n linearly independent independent eigenvectors. This is a condition just now what we have seen, or we could have told something like the algebraic multiplicity of lambda, a particular eigenvalue, should be equal to the geometric multiplicity of that eigenvalue for every eigenvalue of A. Or the third or the most important characterization is that the minimal polynomial of that particular matrix is a product of linear factors. So you can see when we found the previous question, the minimal polynomial, that is when we took this particular matrix, we found the minimal polynomial to be lambda minus 2 whole square into lambda minus 1. It is not actually a linear product of linear factors. Not product of linear factors, product of distinct linear factors, because it's actually a product of linear factors. Like you can write as lambda minus 2 into lambda minus 2 into lambda minus 1. But what we need is product of distinct linear factors. Keep this in mind. So here you can see it is not a product of distinct because it's actually repeated. So it's not actually a product of distinct linear factors. That means if you can say that for a particular matrix the minimal polynomial is not a product of distinct linear factors, then you can say that the matrix is not diagonalizable. Okay, so it's a very important topic, very important thing you must keep in mind, because this is one of the theory what we are learning now, okay, as far as your IIT JAM exam is concerned. So please try to see the video again if you are having any problems, and if you have any more problems, please comment down in the video. If you want a bit more explanations regarding this, I will definitely do it for you. Please make comments on these videos if you have any problem in this. Okay, now to be very much clear, you can see we say a matrix is diagonalizable or over F if and only if this is happening. Why is this so important? See, if you take a matrix 0 1 minus 1 0, I will take it as a matrix from Mn of R. Consider it as a matrix from Mn of R. Then the eigenvalues for this matrix are what? But you get the characteristic equation, you get lambda square plus 1 equal to 0. You get the roots as lambda equal to plus or minus I. That means, what do we get here? So here we can say that this matrix is not diagonalizable over R because there are no eigenvalues in this F. As per our definition, our lambda should come from the F. Here we don't have any eigenvalues for this particular matrix, but it is diagonalizable over C because if you consider it as a matrix from Mn of C, then you have two eigenvalues, I and minus I, and in fact you can diagonalize this matrix with something of this form, minus I 0 0, something of this form. You can do it. That means that this has importance, this F has importance. So because of this reason, I want to tell one more thing to you, a small definition which is not asked till now, but let us make a note of it. What do you mean by triangularizable matrices? We say a matrix from Mn of F is triangularizable if there exists a non-singular matrix P from Mn of F such that P inverse AP will be equal to T, but T is a triangular matrix, upper triangular or lower triangular matrix. Okay, so such kind of matrices we call as triangularizable matrices, and we have a very important result that says that if A belongs to Mn of F, then A is triangularizable over F if and only if the minimal polynomial is a product of the minimal polynomial of A is a product of linear factors. A product of linear factors. So here it's not required that it should be distinct linear factors. It's enough that it should be product of linear factors. So any matrix, because of that reason, any matrix A in Mn of C is triangularizable because you are going to get obviously you are going to get complex roots there, and you can write them as product of linear factors, right? Because if you get an nth degree polynomial, it will have n roots, right? Real as well as complex mixed, or sometimes only real, and so on. So second condition is that any matrix, square matrix from Mn of R is triangularizable if and only if all its eigenvalues are real. So this is also another important property when you consider matrices from entries from the field R. Okay, so this you keep in mind.